Portal is a horror game. Now I know what you might be thinking. It's a witty puzzle game with funny robots. There's nothing scary here. Even the Steam tags don't define it as a horror game. First off, I want to make the distinction between the first Portal and its sequel. Portal 2 is undoubtedly a comedy game. In fact, it's probably one of the funniest games ever made. And Portal is funny too, don't get me wrong. But I think its sequel being a balls-to-the-wall comedy made some people evaluate the first one in a different light, when in fact, it's an unnerving experience.
I know you're there. I can feel you here.
The first Portal is a masterclass in creating an eerie sense of isolation. You walk through test after test of blank concrete slabs and tiles. The rooms all feel cold and empty, and they're designed in a way that doesn't seem to make sense with our understanding of the world. It evokes the same kind of feeling that liminal horror does to me. Rare peaks under the stairs and scaffolds show us metal grates and pipes, and an ever-present ominous red light. There are no natural lights at all. Everything feels so clinical and artificial. And each one of these rooms has an observation deck, a place where scientists can monitor you as you complete these experiments. And yet, despite that, they're never occupied. Where is everyone? Why do I still feel like I'm being watched? The cameras follow your every move. And of course, there's that disembodied voice.
To ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities, do not destroy vital testing apparatus.
It's obvious that it's not a human being, but at first, you don't even know if that voice belongs to an active robot. Sure, it seems to respond to your actions, but it could all be pre-recorded. You genuinely have no idea if there's anything else out there, but you feel an outside presence is just out of reach. And that's very unnerving. But it's also just the beginning. This sense of being entirely isolated, yet somehow feeling like you're not alone, is only more prevalent in the second half of the game, and it starts here. So there is someone here, hiding in the walls, but they're clearly not well. What happened to them? Where are they now? The discovery of the Ratman dens are genuinely creepy moments that add to the game's increasing sense of unease as the tests near their conclusion. And then there's the last third of the game where you escape the tests. Just when the concrete walls and floors of the test chambers were starting to become a familiar sight, now we wander through decrepit and abandoned areas, supplemented with the metal and ominous red light that we only got glimpses of before. There's pistons firing and machines completing their tasks without any human to run them, or seemingly any reason. And these dimly lit, empty hallways. This is wrong. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here. The foggy walkways leading up to GLaDOS' chamber always unnerved me as a kid. There's something about this place being so vast and devoid of anything that's really off-putting. Lots of people have brought up the fact that GLaDOS' design resembles a woman bound and gagged, hanging upside down. Creepy. The screens above her flash with random images, too quick to really see. Like she's processing information at a speed we can't comprehend, and we finally learn what happened to all the people here.
Good news. I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did. It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin.
Everyone here has been murdered. This facility, it's a graveyard. Somehow, I've come this far without even talking about the sound design of the game. The test chambers are filled with drones and hums of fluorescent lights that create an uncomfortable atmosphere. There's a really cool detail I like with the sound design of this game during the escape section, where they make GLaDOS' voice sound more and more muffled and echoed, which adds to the creepiness factor.
Uh-oh, somebody cut the cake. I told them to wait for you, but they cut it anyway. There is still some left if you hurry back.
Especially coupled with the constant machinery sounds. And the soundtrack of this game is phenomenal. So much of the music either inspires dread or anxiety. I think one of the reasons people don't see Portal as horror comes from a misunderstanding of the genre. Like, horror has to have scary monsters or brutal kills, but these are just tropes that are commonly associated with the genre. They don't define it. I think that's why people are fine calling Cube horror, but not Portal, despite sharing a similar premise. Cube has extremely graphic deaths and gore, whereas Portal doesn't really. But Portal still has the constant threat of death, whether it be toxic water, energy pellets, or deadly neurotoxin. And of course, the plan was always for you to be burnt alive at the completion of the tests. Your life is constantly on the line. It might not be via over-the-top kills, but all these things are still pretty morbid. The biggest thing that prevents people from calling Portal a horror game is its comedy, but I think the humor of Portal exists for very different reasons than it does in its sequel. In the first one, I think the humor actually adds to the game feeling unsettling. GLaDOS is funny, yes, but she's also completely emotionless in her delivery. And she says some weird things that make you realize there's something really wrong with her programming. Something is just off every time she talks. Hearing this robotic, emotionless voice say funny things occasionally creates this really strange dissonance. I don't think having comedic aspects prevents a piece of fiction from being horror. And in Portal, I think they go hand in hand. Portal is a horror game. It may not fit that description in the typical sense. There are no killers, no jump scares, and there's nothing chasing you around in the dark. It's too creative for that. But don't let the game's cleverness distract you from what it truly is.
Didn't we have some fun, though?